How did Sunday take over the Sabbath? Let's take a look at roughly the first 4 centuries to see how the seventh day Sabbath was taken over by Sunday worship. Let's get started. Reason number 1, the Jewish War and Jewish revolts. During the 1st and 2nd century, the Roman Empire ruled much of the world, including Europe and the lands of Judea. There was much strife and tension between the pagan, polytheistic, Greek-minded Roman Empire versus the strict monotheistic, Hebrew-minded Jewish people. One of the ways that the tension grew into a war and revolt was due to the Jewish tax that the Roman emperors enforced, known as Fiscus Judaicus. The Jewish War was around 66 AD to 70 AD, which led to the Roman Empire destroying Jerusalem along with the temple. Tens of thousands on both sides died during this war. The Jews were seen as an enemy of the state at this time, so you could have been a peaceful non-Jew who kept the Sabbath, and this was seen as a supporter of the Jews and a threat to the Romans. Thus, many Gentile converts to the first century faith wanted to distance themselves from looking too Jewish, which included resting on the seventh day. And this started the ball rolling on losing the Sabbath as followers of Yeshua. Now, around 132 to 135 AD, a Jewish leader rose up named Bar Kokhban. He claimed to be a Messiah figure and led the second revolt against the Roman Empire. By the end of this Jewish rebellion against Rome, Emperor Hadrian passed laws forbidding things such as circumcision, the keeping of the Sabbath, and the study or teaching of the Torah. This was aimed at the Jews, but these laws affected the course of the young movement in Yeshua to a greater degree than many realized. The followers of Yeshua as Messiah started to distance themselves even more from mainstream Judaism. This included keeping the Sabbath day on Saturday. Moving on to reason number 2. There was a lot of Greco-Roman converts into the faith following Yeshua as Messiah, and many of these Greco-Roman converts were citizens of Rome. Thus, they grew up and saw the Roman Empire as their home and kingdom, and the Jewish faith as this threat, and saw the Jews as the ones who rejected Yeshua. Thus, you begin to see many of these Greco-Roman minded church fathers teach against anything that looked Jewish, like keeping the Sabbath. For example, Ignatius of Antioch said this in 110 AD, quote, "Those who were brought up in the ancient order of things, i.e., the Jews, have come to the possession of a new hope, no longer observing the Sabbath, but living in the observance of the Lord's day, which to them was Sunday." Reason number 3. The Roman Church declared Sunday as the Sabbath. By the 4th century, what was seen as the main church of those days was the Roman Catholic Church, and they claimed to have the power to decree Sunday as the new Sabbath, replacing the Jewish Sabbath on the seventh day. We read in the Convert's Catechism of the Catholic Doctrine, which says, Question, which is the Sabbath day? Answer, Saturday is the Sabbath day. Question, why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer, we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church in the Council of Laodicea, AD 336, transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. So now, not only is the secular empire against keeping the biblical Sabbath on Saturday, but the biggest known Greco-Roman church begins to promote Sunday as the new Sabbath also. And I'm sure that the famous decree made by Emperor Constantine 10 years prior made a big influence on declaring Sunday, that is, to him, the day of the sun, as a day of rest by these Greco-Roman church fathers. Constantine said this in 321 AD, quote, "On the venerable day of the sun, that is Sunday, let the magistrates and people residing in cities rest, and let shops be closed." So, Yeshua did not change the Sabbath. He walked according to the law perfectly. He kept the law of Moses and told others to do likewise, like in Matthew 5:17. The apostles did not keep Sunday as Sabbath. They also, Jews by the way, kept the seventh-day Sabbath. We only see the change from Saturday to Sunday worship begin to happen once the wars and revolts begin, and looking Jewish could cost you your life. Afterwards, the empire outlawed keeping the law of Moses. Then the Greco-Roman church fathers, who were thinking Rome was home and the Jews were an enemy of the state, promoted keeping Sunday over Saturday. And eventually the Roman church during the Council of Laodicea declared Sunday as the new Sabbath, which was highly influenced by Emperor Constantine 10 years prior, who declared Sunday as the day of rest. We need to get back to the law of Yahweh and get back to the truth. Keep the seventh-day Sabbath, Saturday. Come out of her, my people, says Yah. We should come out of Babylon, Greece, Rome, and the Roman Church. Let us return to the ancient path, return to the Heavenly Father and His law. Deuteronomy 30, verse 8 through 10. And you will again obey the voice of Yahweh and do all His commandments, which I command you today. Yahweh your Elohim will make you abound in all the work of your hand, and in the fruit of your body, and in the increase of your livestock, and in the produce of your land for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over you for good as He rejoiced over your fathers. If you obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim to keep His commandments and His statutes, which are written in the book of the law, and if you turn to Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul. Jeremiah 6:16. Thus says Yahweh, stand by the roads and look and ask for the ancient paths, where the good way is, and walk in it and find rest for your souls. Thank you and shalom.